สวัสดีค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดี
สวัสดีค่ะ Let me say that the COVID-19 pandemic pushed the world into the digital economy era recently. And as a result, all sectors are increasingly adapting to digital transformation so that every transaction can meet the needs of consumers and customers at your fingertips. But over the last year or 2 year, we heard about cybercrime, especially like my own experience. That is causing enormous damage more and more often. So especially in 2021, Dr. Varin Khera, Chief Corporate Strategy Officer of Cloudsec Asia Co. Limited, could you please share your view about this?
Okay. Yep. So what cybercrime actually does is it exploits people's trust in their technology, right? So if you look at it from that instances, if, for example, somebody have access to your phone, what could they do? They would know everything about you that your phone knows about you, right? So broadly speaking, when you look at cybercrime, you consider the impact of cybercrime in three categories. Okay. One is the financial category. So basically, with cybercrime, you could lose your money, you could lose your corporate info. You're looking at reputational category. So basically, somebody could use your identity and claim that something you are something you're not. Like in your previous example, that they claim you to be a call center. And third is legal implication. So there are relevant cyber law that's coming up, and with these cyber law, there could be legal implication for cybersecurity if you don't keep your organization protected, for example. Right. So this is broadly speaking how cyber crimes affect people's life, right, and organizations.
Could you please talk about the cyber threats affects people's lives and our businesses, and what are the likely in the future or maybe this year, what likely to have the cybercrime trend?
Okay. So if you look at 2022, right? We talk about cyber trend. I give a list of 7 top cyber trend. Okay, for 2022, based on our experience, we do extensive work with cybersecurity, so we publish trends yearly. Now, the first trend, okay, and this is for people to be aware, is password authentication risk. So everybody has a password, right? You use your password to log into something. Now, the problem with password is, you know, people always use very simple password. So what they do is that they use password that can be guessable, right? And a lot of the time, if a corporate forced you to use strong password, what I've seen is people write it down, right? So password is one of the biggest risks in cyber trend right now, because hackers can steal your password. A lot of the time they steal your password, they crack into your system using default password. So what we are seeing a move today is we are seeing a move towards what we call a passwordless authentication. Okay, what a passwordless authentication means is that you would be using biometrics, you would be using two-factor authentication, or you could be using your phone. Like when you log into Google or Microsoft today, they ask you to use your phone to verify a certain code to log in. So this is one of the biggest trend that I see that would be a paradigm shift this year. Organizations like Microsoft are coming up and saying, well, you really should move towards passwordless authentication. Similarly, Google, similarly, all these big organizations. So that's the paradigm shift we see in 2022. Okay. The second trend of the 7 trend is that I call 2022 the biggest year for ransomware. Okay. What is the ransomware? A ransomware is actually a computer program that if it infects your computers or your organization, it threatens you with a ransom. Like you have to pay a certain amount and they will send a certain amount of money via Bitcoin, and then they will send you the keys so you can then decrypt. We've heard of Saraburi last year, right? Where the hacker was claiming they wanted 200,000 Bitcoin. It was like 60 billion baht worth of ransom. So this is what we see quite extensively, that ransomware is becoming a very big thing, and you hear this in the news all the time. Organizations are actually being ransomed. Very recently, there's actually a ransomware called COVID Shield. So what it does is it actually pretends to give you information about COVID. But once you click on this, it then encrypts your hard disk and asks you to pay $100, and then it will give you a key to get your data back. Right. So this is the second trend. The third is we're talking about IoT, increasing IoT attack. Okay, what is IoT? I'd like people to understand this, right? You're talking about 5G today, 5G network. What is actually 5G? 5G is bringing all these real-time sensors, these your fridge, your baby monitors, your TV, everything, bringing it onto the network. Okay, so what happens with these things coming onto the network is these devices are not designed to be secured from the ground up, right? Security is always an afterthought, right? So what happens is these IoT comes on the network. People can exploit them. For example, a hacker could, exploit your TV and listen to your conversation, for example, right? And this has been proven in the past. If people go and read up on Mirai bot, there was one time a few years back there was a bot, an attack that was called Mirai. So what this thing did was it was guessing the password of IoTs, and through this it was able to lock into a lot of these IoTs. So it has proven. Another recent one, just very recently, is Tesla. I mean, you know, uh, you know, uh, a guy called David Colombo, he claimed that he was able to hack into Tesla's car. Okay, and he was able to start unlock the door, start disable the engine. Of course, Tesla has fixed this, right? But this proves what can happen with IoTs and what we will see extensively this year. Okay. Then another thing is the fourth trend is the phishing attack. Actually, Kunira Shah, you just talk about one of the phishing attack, right? Where actually the call center calls you and try to trick you to get information from you. This is precisely what we call phishing attack, and this is precisely what we're gonna see this year. I call this localized phishing attack. Localized means it's not like before. Before I get an email saying I want $100 million and you should send email to this place, and they send an email to everybody. So this is like you fish, you send email to everybody and hopefully somebody will get it. But what we're seeing here is localized. They try to study about you, like they study about me on my Facebook page. They become my friend, then they send information to me, right? So that's what we're seeing massively this year. The fifth trend, going quickly, is what we call supply chain attack. So very simple. If you think of cybersecurity, most of the big corporate here, they have cybersecurity policies. But what about your supply chain? You're bringing in technologies. Are these technologies that you're bringing into your organization, are they also thinking of cybersecurity like you do? Like there has been an attack on SolarWind. Just to read up one where anybody who installed this program, hackers was able to come in and compromise through this program. Okay, it has been fixed, but I'm just giving an example of supply chain. Okay, and then the sixth thing is increasing risk for mobile device. I see that you're going to have a lot of cyber risk. Before, when you talk about malwares, right, these viruses, they would attack your laptop. But today, we've seen again a paradigm shift. They are moving. There's a lot more malware moving towards your phones, right? Then there's a lot of discussion: is Android more secure or is Apple more secure? Some people claim that they use Apple phone; they don't need to worry about security. I don't think that's true, right? I mean, there are always ways to get into your system. I mean, even though Apple is a closed system, doesn't mean that Apple is more secure than Android. I feel that there are always ways to attack, and you have to really be careful of this. And then the last point is cyber warfare. You see, what happens today with warfare is, every time there's a warfare, there's a threat. You would see cyber being the front line. Like for example, if the US has a war with Russia or have any conflict with Russia, cybersecurity would be how they would attack. But we've seen this in the past. They've attacked Iran nuclear facility using malware to shut down the nuclear facilities. So you would see a lot of that shift. You would see a lot of that happening in 2022. Okay, so that sort of wrap up what I see as a seven trend. Yep.
So what would be your recommendations to protect ourselves and prevent these threats, since there are so many?
Very good question, right? So how do we prevent cyber threat? Okay, so I would give you 7 habits. Okay, just practice the 7 habits. Okay, and the 7 habits may not protect you 100%, because if you are a target, they can always come after you, right? But these 7 habits would help keep you as secure as possible, right? So one is very simple: think before you click and open a file. So if you get a file, you just give it a thought. Is it real? Could this person be sending me an email asking me for this information? Should I click this? Because a lot of the times these files that comes into your emails, they could be infected, right? For example, if you're advertising for a role and somebody sends in a resume and with an attachment that looks suspicious, is it real? Just give it a thought, okay? The second thing is, again, I like your example earlier, like people were trying to fish you, to scam you, right? So just verify information. If people are requesting your private information, could they really request that? For example, somebody's pretending to be the bank and they're calling you to ask you for your private information. That cannot be real. So just verify that, okay? The third thing is protect your password. Okay, just like I said, go password less or use two-factor, or if you have to use password, use a secure password. Okay, so just protect your password. Don't share it with everybody. Okay. The fourth thing is update your device regularly. Okay, so a lot of the times when we do penetration testing work, when we go and advise client, we see that a lot of ways attackers comes in is because you're not updated. So just keep updating. When Apple pops up for you to update your phone, update it. When Android pops up, update your phone. Okay, that's the fourth thing. The fifth habit I would say is backup. I have experienced this myself. I mean, I've had my computer corrupted on me. So if you don't have backup, you run into risk. So backup as frequently as possible. And the sixth thing is you delete your sensitive information when you don't need it. So if you have sensitive information in your laptop, you've used it, and it's possible, just delete it off, right? Because you don't know if somebody would be able to access it at some point. And the last thing I would say is, follow your corporate policies and report suspicious activity. Please do that, right? A lot of people try to circumnavigate their corporate policies. So the corporate policy says use a strong password. Yes, I will use a strong password, but I will write it down. So don't do that. Don't write it down on your desk and leave it there. So just follow that strictly, right? So these 7 habits, will help you keep yourself secure. Okay.
I have a question, because we now living like online for many activities in our life. So we tend to have this website, this application, login and password. So I have so many passwords, and sometimes I use interchangeably. I mean, use this password for this one, but I still cannot remember the password. Can you have some recommendation? I used to write down my password in a piece of my small booklet to keep it away, and also sometimes I put the list of my password on my desktop. Is it secure? No.
Absolutely not, right? So what you could do, for example, what I do is whenever I have to select a password, I let the OS, like if you're using Apple, if you're using Windows, there are tools that you can download. So what this tool does, it actually selects the secure password for you for all these websites or these sites that you're going into. Okay, and what you do is that every time you log into this site, you go into this like a password vault, and this vault will then have all your password. So you don't need to remember the password for all the site. You just remember one password for a vault, like a vault, right? A password vault. So there are programs like that. Just Google it. And if you use, I use Apple extensively. I mean, there are built-in tools in Chrome, for example, or in Safari. That would every time there's a password, you have to select a password. The OS will come and says, "Do you want to use this secure password?" You can use that, and you can let the tool remember the password for you, right? So it's a little bit of a headache because you need to sort of give it a little bit of thought. You need to go through 1 or 2 steps, but it is a must, right? Password is definitely a no-go. You have to really keep it secure. And like I said, you will see that most of the organization will eventually move to passwordless. They will force you to use your application. And down the line, you will be using the most secure ways is your biometric, your fingerprint, your retina. That's what we will see down the line in the next 5 years, extensively. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, Kha, thank you very much, Kha Prajay. There are a lot of things that we need to be careful and be vigilant about that. But the thing is, your recommendations are the most simple things that a lot of people should be doing regularly. The 7 recommendations. So, and I think if people follow these steps, there will be less cyber crimes on the arriving to us, happening to us. So thank you very much for your information ค่ะ today. Thank you for joining our program สวัสดีค่ะ
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
ขอบคุณค่ะ